Okay, one more time. I need to hear. Oh, okay. I need to hear your energy wherever you are, whether you're in another continent, if ever. But anyway, so hey, Isaac,
What's
what's up?
What's
up?
up?
What's
Up?
up?
Hey, yeah.
Energy. Okay. All right. So it's good that we had a little bit of an energizer here. So let me share my screen really quickly. Okay. Also, if I get a little bit choppy, please let me know. Or if my CC buddy can call me via Telegram, that would be great as well. So yeah, let me just wait for my screen to load. Okay. All right. So hi everyone. Welcome to the space. So today we'll be talking about design thinking with, of course, the purpose to diversify our revenue streams. But of course, I want to take this time to also introduce myself really quickly. So hi everyone. I'm Jika. So before I came into this MC role, I was an LCVP for marketing, and life surprised me. I became MCVP for BDPR for Isaac and the Philippines. And this is my first time introducing myself as part of the support team for the regional office. So I'll be working with Sumi, with Sarah as their BD network support specialist. So I'm going to be really happy to see you guys around. So I hope to see you guys in consultancy calls or even just call me whenever. Wow. But anyway, so yeah, I'll see you when I see you. Okay. So I want to know, how are you guys feeling for day 3? Are you guys still excited? Are you a little bit tired? So we had a little bit of an energizer earlier, but I want to know how you guys are really, really feeling. So anyone feeling excited, tired? So just share it in the chat. Okay, I see people excited. How about the others? Anyone who's feeling admittedly tired? Okay, yeah. So also get ready for my Taylor Swift GIFs as well. So yeah, I'm a big Taylor Swift fan. Okay, I see stars. Cool, cool. Okay, so thank you guys so much for sharing how you're feeling. So please keep it up. I know this is going to be a very exciting space because we're going to be working with our respective commissions for the first time. Okay, so let me go on to the next slide. All right. So let me talk about session expectations so that we can definitely enjoy this functional workshop on design thinking. So first and foremost, I want you guys to focus on the approach of design thinking and not necessarily the answers that you seek. So second would be to empower one another, which is one of our great Isaac qualities or leadership qualities. So we really need to take this time to help each other out as one commission. And I know a lot of you guys are looking for GCP, so maybe this is also the space for you. So third, expectation to be grounded with our optimism. So I only have around 1 hour to spend time with you. So I can't exactly guarantee all of the answers, but we need to be grounded here. So we're going to find the questions that are burning inside our foreheads and not necessarily the answers. So as for session objectives, these are the things that we need to take note of. So first would be to recognize what are the possible factors that will be in our control during this coming MC term. So not everything will be, in our hands, but we need to recognize like what our response would be, what our attitude would be, what our behaviors would be. Second would be to elevate the way we practice empathy, which is very essential for design thinking because we have our intended stakeholders in mind, especially the externals as well. So third, to slowly feel comfortable with making mistakes. So we're only human, right? So we'll definitely be making mistakes along the way in our MC term, and we need to be able to own the consequences behind these actions. So I hope everything's clear. So if you guys have any questions, always feel free to shoot it in the chat box. Okay, so to start the space, I want to ask everyone then. So we just came from Prayog's amazing innovation space, and I want to ask them just to refresh, like, what is innovation really for, right? So maybe you're thinking, okay, it's to have great branding, great PR. Of course, we also want to get revenue. Maybe we also want to experience personal growth in our MC role. We want to be able to achieve our numbers, our success metrics. We also want to look good as an entity, not just in Asia Pacific, but maybe even to the world as well. But I want us to challenge, I want us to reimagine just having a revenue centric mindset. So remove that mindset or like challenge that mindset. Because at the end of the day, our innovations are for leadership development experiences. So it doesn't make sense to just feel happy that, okay, we just got a lot of revenue. But it's also important that we think about impact. We think about the leaders that we create. We think about fulfilling peace and humankind's potential, right? So I hope to see plus ones in the chat. But anyway, so going back. So for this whole space, for this whole design thinking space. So today, you guys are going to be Taylor Swift, And today we're falling in love. But maybe you're asking, okay, Jiko, what are we falling in love with? Or who are we falling in love with? And today, you guys are falling in love with the problems that you need to face. So we'll have our own love stories to tell because we need to fall in love with the problems that we need to face. So one thing I've learned in design thinking is that it's not about finding the answers right away, but you need to feel comfortable with falling in love with the problem and not the solution. So maybe this is your first time hearing this. It's somehow weird, it's somehow baffling, but slowly this is going to make sense along the way, which I'll be able to explain in a bit. Okay, so just to recap on what design thinking is, or to simplify what it's for. So it's really important to have empathy because it's crucial to human-centered design. And empathy, it really allows design thinkers to set aside our own assumptions about the world so that we gain insight into users and their needs. So in short, empathy for our customers is key to having a successful solution. So yeah, we just talked about innovation, and design thinking is just one of those important frameworks for innovation. And it starts with, of course, empathizing because your innovation has to be human centered. And when you go into the second step, innovation has to solve a problem. So it's not just supposed to be for the sake of looking good or for the sake of getting revenue, but it has to be relevant to society. And when you go into the middle part of design thinking, which is the ideation space, it's born from a clash of ideas. It doesn't just start and end with one amazing idea, but you need to have a lot of ideas along the way. And after you ideate, you have to bring your innovation to life. You have to be able to test it as well. So that's when the prototyping process happens. And then when you have your testing phase, you need to know, what do we eliminate? What do we not continue? What do we start? What do we stop? So you have to be able to refine your testing process as well. Okay, so this is an example of a great design thinking success. So maybe you guys are familiar with it, maybe you're not. So it's a popular tomato ketchup brand. So would anyone be able to guess what brand this is? So maybe you guys can set it in the chat. So yeah, maybe you guys have it at home. Well, I do have this at home. So would anyone? Okay, I see Heinz. Any other suggestions, I guess? Okay, so all right, maybe I'll just wait for one more person. But yeah, this is basically a great example of design thinking. Okay, so all right, thanks, Sumi. It's not Maggie. But yes, you guys are right. This is the Heinz tomato ketchup brand. So this is an example of how design thinking is employed. So when you're brand centric, the bottle is upwards, if I'm not mistaken. But when you're customer centric, you assume that your ketchup goes downwards. So that's why when you're customer centric, that's the design. And when you're customer centric, you have to focus on being the end user. So it's not just about what works for you, but you have to focus on the bigger picture. And second, when you're customer centric, you have to challenge the usual assumptions. So not assuming what the user wants and jumping immediately to solutions. And third would be listening and empathizing. So imagine if we just had the brand centric approach. Maybe we wouldn't have had the version of Heinz being the customer centric way. So maybe we would also be getting our ketchup upwards, not downwards. But yeah, I hope it makes sense. Okay, so a lot of research is definitely employed here. So I'm pretty sure that when Heinz worked with design thinking, it involved a lot of research on how to design their new product packaging. And I think that's one way we can also improve our ISEC experiences as well for other people. Okay, so now the question I'd like to throw to you guys is, in relation to entity sustainability, how can your entity deliver leadership development experiences? So it's not just a BD thing, which I always emphasize to my MC team, but it's always a team thing as well. Okay, so let me share with you how design thinking works. So this is the way of thinking. It has a lot of phases in mind. So you have discover, you have design, you have deliver. So when you're in the discover phase, your goal is to get understanding, which ends in insight. So this is where you empathize, this is where you define. And when you're in the design phase, you have to make sure that your creation ends in ideas. So you have to ideate, which is born of a clash of ideas. And second, you also have to prototype. But when you go into the deliver stage, of course, you want it to come to life. You want it to end in reality. So make sure that you're able to prototype and refine it along the way when you get to the test part. Yeah. Okay. So maybe it's still a little bit overwhelming for you guys, but just to dissect the methodology really quick. So we saw a bit of like diamond looking shapes earlier. So just to explain how it goes. So design thinking has two different types of thinking. So it has divergent thinking and convergent thinking. So when you're in the divergent process, you have to start with a few ideas. You have to brainstorm, and you eventually get the best ideas in the end. But when you're into the convergent thinking phase, you have to filter out your ideas to find the best ones. So when you're in design thinking, you have to always empathize first. You don't think about the answers right away, but you think about the brainstorming solutions after you're able to understand the problem. So as I keep on saying over and over again, so design thinking, it starts with empathizing with your customers you're building a product or service for in order to identify all of their pain points. So I remember when I was doing design thinking for the first time, I was saying, no, it's not going to work because I don't like it. But then I realized that I'm not the end user in mind. So always think of your customer first. Always think about what they'll need rather than what you think they'll need. And always do your research as well. So the thing is with design thinking, it has taught me that it's human nature for a lot of us to love answers. Like I remember when I was elected for MCBPBD, I was like, okay, what do we do now that there's no exchange? So the burning question I had for my MCP is like, what the hell do we do now, right? So I was really, shocked with that. And I realized that a lot of us are obsessed with getting answers. And the thing is, when we get the best answer and when we get the answer that looks like the best answer, we tend to stop brainstorming. We tend to stop ideating as soon as we think we found the answer. So the thing is, when we think we found the best answer, it can prevent us from finding the right solutions, which is something that you need to be careful along the way. So when you're in your MC term, there will be definitely times wherein you feel like you have the best answer in mind, but always be ready to recalibrate and pivot along the way. So another thing to keep in mind as well is that our first ideas are really our best ideas. So maybe you have an idea in mind for Iwa and you think it's the best idea to make your entity shine. But what if there are other ideas that you haven't considered? So always remember that your first ideas can always be refined because they're not necessarily your best ideas just yet. So another thing to keep in mind when you go into the design thinking process is that you need to be clear. You need to be crystal clear and straightforward on the problem that you're trying to solve. So maybe a lot of Isaacers are thinking, okay, we have to solve hunger, we have to solve poverty. But no, that's not what we're necessarily built for. We're not necessarily built to be heroes, but we need to choose our battles. There are specific problems definitely in our entity which need solving, and it needs to be understood well. We need to be able to understand what are the phases or what are the challenges that people go through, or like what are their problems really. So it's not just about solving those very vague problems, but we need to be straightforward with it, and we need to know also what the information is about. So in the discovery phase, as I said earlier, it has to end in insight. And in this phase, you need to understand the symptoms of the problem. So you won't get the problem, or rather, you won't get the answers just yet. But what's important here is that you empathize and that you define your problem as well. So does anyone here have questions before I move on, or is everything clear? Yeah. Anyone has questions? But if you guys are okay, you can send wave. So I really want to check up on you guys because design thinking is really hard to understand during the first time. Okay. Thank you, Prayog.
Can you give us
Anyone?
an can you give us an example about a problem and a symptom that leads to that problem so that we can capture the idea clearer?
Yeah. Thank you so much for asking. Okay, so when it comes to the problem that I can share with you guys, so I remember when I did design thinking for the first time. So the problem that I was working towards was like helping reduce recycled waste. So the thing is, the stakeholders that we had to keep in mind were mothers who had to find a means of livelihood. So the thing is, we had to do a bit of research on what makes stay-at-home moms recycle waste. So the thing is, like, the big problem is, okay, moms don't have that direct means to get profit, or they don't have the direct means to get livelihood. So what we thought of is, okay, what are the things at home that they can be able to sell? So that's how we were able to pinpoint the problem. Like we realized, okay, the problem is they don't know what they can sell at home, rather than have. So does that make sense, or do I need to provide another example as well? Yeah. me? Hello?
We can hear you
Can you
now.
guys hear me?
Like
Okay, okay.
we lost
All
you like
right.
15 seconds ago. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Sorry. Yeah, my internet sometimes weird. But anyway, so I think I'll just repeat the example again just to be really safe. So when I was part of a design thinking sprint, I was working with a social enterprise, and they were finding a way to be able to reduce recycled waste in their community. So basically reducing the number of plastic bottles. And they realized that what if we find a way to be able to incentivize, or rather um, award mothers who are staying at home. So they realized that there are a lot of recycled waste that starts at home. So why not make the stay-at-home moms monetize it as well? So basically, the problem could have been like, okay, we don't know where to put our rather we don't know where to put our recycled waste, but they reframed it as, why not we do something with recycled waste at home? So I hope that makes sense, or did I lag again? I'm sorry, just to check. Hello?
No, it's good now.
Okay, okay. Sorry. Thanks, Fatty. So was the example clear, or do you guys need more examples? Do you guys need more examples? Just to check up on you, because design thinking is really challenging to explain. Okay. All
I
right.
can add an example that
Okay.
is
Thanks, Fatty.
not like from everyday life. Okay, sorry if this is discussing for someone, but I'm just drinking coffee and I thought this may be an example. So maybe someone is suffering from colored teeth. So maybe the teeth are having dark color. So that's the symptom. It's not the problem that your teeth are dark colored. The problem is that you're drinking a lot of coffee, and the color of your teeth is the symptom. So in order to solve the problem, you're not going to attack the dark color of the teeth. You're going to attack the fact that you drink a lot of coffee. So that's the difference between symptom and problem. Jika, over to you.
Thanks, Fatty. Okay. So tell me if it's lagging, by the way. I'm getting conscious with my internet because it's sometimes weird. But yeah, I hope it makes sense. All right. Thank you for your energy. Okay, perfect. All right. So now the time is for you guys to be able to apply it. So the thing is, like, I can explain it to you guys all day, but I would really want to take the time for you guys to have this practical experience as well. So we're going to have the issue analysis experience. So this is where we explore the problems, the symptoms as well. So there will be examples which we will provide in the output. So let me just explain, or like brief you guys before I send you guys into breakout rooms. Okay, so for the issue analysis part, so you guys will be going into your functional breakout room. So if you're TM, go to TM. If you're EWA, you go to EWA. If you're BD, you go to BD. So the answers that you have to put in your issue analysis, they have to be specific. And if you're having a hard time narrowing down the scope of the problem or the symptom, you have to ask yourselves who, what, and where. And another thing to be mindful over is that you have to focus on the negative consequences, because these are parts of the problem, or these are parts of the symptom also. And you can't focus on positive effects, because what we're doing here is problem solving. So what our goal is at the end of this phase, or rather the end of the output part, is to get the root causes of the symptoms. So when I go to this issue analysis example, when you see it, so the end here is to get the orange item cleared out. So it doesn't start with just, or rather, your goal isn't to get the symptom of the problem, but your goal is to get the root cause of the problem. So really, there's emphasis on the orange part as well. So remember also that the best answers are backed by data, not assumptions. So I'm assuming that, of course, like, it's part of our Isaac rule to always have data and not work with assumptions. So there are going to be examples provided by the RMs for the different functions that you guys can also reference for. So when you're in your breakout room, make sure to assign the following roles as well. So there has to be a scribe, someone who will take note of your answers. Second would be to time keep, because you only have 15 minutes for this space. And third would be to have a volunteer sharer as well. So of course, in Isaac, we love sharing. So for sharing, you need to emphasize what is the symptom of the problem that you're dealing with and what are the implications of this. And if there's still time, you guys could also share, like, who are the stakeholders involved, what are the root causes as well. So the problem, or rather the issue analysis sample that I have here on the left, is a GT problem. So just to run down with it really quickly. So the symptom of the problem. So the prompt asks, how does the external context of your entity affect your leadership development experiences? So the thing here in Isaac and Disneyland, wherever this entity could be, so fresh graduates in Disneyland, they lack the technical skills needed to navigate the workplace. And what would be the implication of this then? So what are the implications or the consequences within the entity from the symptoms you've seen? So because of this symptom, so there's a low conversion rate from applied to accepted. Entity doesn't also reach the goal of approval. So the goal of revenue generated is pretty low. And as for stakeholders, so who are the people directly or indirectly affected by these? So you have GT applicants, members working in the function. You also have university relations to provide resources, and you also have your IGT partners who are affected. And then when you go into root causes, so your goal is to keep on asking why these things happen. So why does this implication exist? So you have to look for 3 to 4 root causes of the symptom. So there are many whys, but you need to be able to choose like what really causes the implication. So the first why is EP skills don't match IR opportunity requirements. Second why would be EPs don't get prepared for the consideration process. Third why would be the current members, they lack competency to train applicants to improve their CV and pass the interview. And as for the root cause, so this is what's definitely related to the implication is that members are not trained well with customer support. So your root cause has to be the one in orange. Okay, so after we have the input or rather the output part, so we'll have 2 rounds for sharing. So the first round, you get to visit different functions. You also get to explore different hats along the way. And then the second round would be, there will be main sharing in the main plenary room. So make sure to have a volunteer share. And of course, sharing is caring. So I hope you guys are very excited for that as well. So let me go on to the link. So the link is isec.ec and then AP Design Thinking. So I hope the link works. Yeah.
I've sent the link in the chat also.
All right. Thanks, Krish. So you guys have 15 minutes. So in GMT plus 8, it's 5:12 right now. So I expect you guys to be back by 5:27. So if ever we need a time extension, then we'll let you guys know. We'll broadcast a message. So yeah. Okay. All right.
I've opened
So
all the
Krish,
room.
maybe you can. Okay. Got it.
And
I'll stop sharing.
y'all can directly start joining your function.
They only kind of do it like a one-time event as opposed to staying with us long-term. So they only do like one-off. So our implications that we found or that we talked about was that, okay, that implies that our partners don't want to engage with us long-term. And the conversion rate to next UA event or even to ELD is also low as well. So they become like detractors instead for both partner and the youth side. And the other thing that we talked about was that LCs kind of run different, like various different kinds of programs, assuming that it's EWA, meaning that there's like lots of things happening, lots of different things happening, but not exactly what like following EWA principles. And then for the stakeholders, we talked about 4 main things: the youth that are directly involved in our program, the partners who are involved in our EWA initiatives, LCs who are participating in EWA, like the LCVPs, like LCVP EWAs or those running national events, and also the organizing teams who work on EWA. So they're these kinds of structures. So some of the root causes that we talked about were that there's not a lot of in-depth research about the market. Like I guess there was no design thinking or market research that happened before they made some sort of event. And then the next thing is there's a lack of membership capacity building specifically for EWA. So since it's a new kind of product / function, or not product, but new function, people don't really know where exactly it's supposed to be. Is it operations? Is it not? Or what kind of skills are needed? And like there's no real customer flow. And then the third thing is like the value proposition of EWA is a little bit unclear to the LC level. Like as MC level, we know everything, but on the LC level, it's kind of hard for them to situate it because all that they have known are the exchange, which have very, very, very clear value propositions. So our like final problem that we discussed was we think it's the innovation capacity of the members. So their ability to innovate like based off of the EWA value proposition is something that they're lacking, because if that is solved, then our event quality, or not event quality, but youths and partners will understand why we're creating these events, and thus they're more impactful. So yeah, that is our sharing for EWA. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing. Okay, so we don't have all the time in the world, but in case you guys would like to check out the other outputs, you guys could always go back to the link. You guys could check other functions as well. So thank you so much, EWA function, for sharing your output. Okay, so let me go back to sharing my screen. So, okay, hold on. Apologies for the late load. Okay, so I want to ask you guys, how are you feeling now post-activity? Are you feeling good? Are you feeling confused? Like, I really want to know how you guys are generally feeling. Like, you might be Taylor Swift on the right or on the left. So how are you guys really feeling? Good, good. Anyone feeling confused? Okay. So in case you guys are feeling confused, it's very natural given how design thinking is a very challenging activity to teach. So I just wanted to check up on you guys before you wrap up this phase. Okay. So the thing is, what we really did in this whole 1 hour is just we focused on the discovery phase. So we focus on issue analysis. But as you move forward, you're going to go into brainstorming of solutions conceptualization. You also will have to develop your own business model, prototyping of plans, prototype costing, and execution. So design thinking doesn't just happen in one day, but it really takes time. It's not just a sprint. Or if you want to do a sprint, you have to dedicate, I think, around 3 days. So yeah, you can do more research on that beyond this phase. So just wanted to let you guys know what happens beyond just issue analysis. Okay, so yeah, that's basically the summary of design thinking. So the thing with design thinking is that this is your desired output. So innovation is really at its core. You have to make sure that it's viable, it's desirable, it's feasible. And given our realities now as different entities, we have to make sure that our leadership development experiences contribute to entity sustainability. So you always have to consider the business aspect of it all so that we're able to not just survive, but we're also able to thrive as well. Okay, so earlier I mentioned that we need to fall in love with the problem and not the solution. So I wanted to take this time to share my personal love story with falling in love with a problem. So in my entity, we took part in this event called the Youth Social Innovation Lab. So this is where my example came from earlier. So in this event, different social enterprises by different youth from all over the Philippines, 100 participants, they were seeking to understand how to make their businesses desirable, viable, and relevant. And we used design thinking as a framework. So as you can see here in the dates, it was 4 days. The 4th day was more for presentation, but imagine 3 full afternoons with different participants from all over the Philippines. So yeah, Isaac was one of those community partners. And the thing with this event is that it was so tiring, but it was so worth it. And it was my first ever hackathon that I participated in. So where does this all relate to, right? So maybe you're curious also. So as a volunteer facilitator, I spent 3 days, full days, helping out this enterprise called Waste Labs rather. So it's a social enterprise that wanted to empower stay-at-home moms to monetize recycled waste. So I'm still friends with my group mates. So that's Rainier and Zeus. And yeah, they're my new lifelong connections. So what were the lessons that I learned from this event, which I think you guys might somewhat relate to given the limited activity that we had? So the first lesson I wanted to share with you guys is that it's really important to have emotional and mental resilience to be okay with failure. So I think a lot of us are obsessed with reaching our goals, with reaching our achievements, but it's really okay to fail. And when you realize that you're failing, you're actually failing fast. And when you do fail fast, you're able to learn faster as well. Which leads me to my second lesson is that you don't need to know everything. So you have to also, though, have a deliberate hypothesis. So you have to have an inference, a guess, like in a lab experiment. And it's also normal to start from the ground up and to hit the reset button. So in case you fail, then it's really normal to just go back to the beginning, really. So third lesson I also wanted to share with you guys today is what I was saying earlier is that you need to do your research as well. So your problem, your solution, they have to operate on truth about your customers, never on your gut feeling like, okay, this is going to work because I said so. So you have to do your research, never just listen to your ego or your gut feeling. So, in summary, innovation is really tiring, it's really stressful and confusing, but it's worth doing well, especially when we focus on the leadership development experiences that we want to deliver at the end of the day. So, with that, thank you guys for attending the space. I hope you guys enjoy RFS. So, never forget to be human. In case you guys want to connect, those are my contact details. And I hope you enjoy your break and the rest of RFS. So, thank you guys.
Thank you so much, Jika. Really appreciate it. Yes, Iko, me too. I told her since the first dry run, I love this session. I hope you guys enjoyed it and you learned so much that you can take and implement in your planning. So for now, you have 25 minutes